Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today we have Chargelogic with us, and they will be doing a presentation on PCI validated payment processing solutions. And we just ask that if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them into the questions box, and we will get them called out toward the end of the webinar. And we do record all of our webinars, so if you'd like to review this again or share it with anyone, you are more than welcome to. We will have it up on our website by the end of the week for you to review or share with anyone. And so now I will turn it over to Debbie, and she will start our presentation.
Great. Thanks so much. This is Debbie Adler, as Angie mentioned, and I am the Partner Channel Manager here at Chargelogic. So we work very closely with the Innovia team and have for many years, so we're excited for the opportunity to present to you today. As Angie mentioned, we're going to take a look at the Chargelogic solutions. We will focus in on some of them more than others, but basically just to give you a high-level view of what our products could do for you and ways that they integrate nicely together, and some of them can be used separately. So our vision at Chargelogic, it seems pretty straightforward. In the slideshow, we have a handful of slides, and then we will do a product demonstration. But our goal is to allow you to take payments from any sales channel that you need to, or that your customers are coming to you. And really that just gives you the option to securely accept payments, wherever your customers, however they're reaching you, and have everything done inside of one system. So that includes, e-commerce. If you have a call center, if you have a brick and mortar store, customers can find you anyway, and everything is inside of Nav and very easy to manage. So we're going to just start with kind of taking a quick look at what solutions we have available, and then we will focus in on some of them specifically. Chargelogic Payments, some of you might be familiar with, is really at the core of everything we do. It's been the inspiration for all of our offerings. Not only is it a PCI validated solution, but it is seamlessly built inside of your Nav system, so really gives you that true integration. Chargelogic Connect is a cloud-based service we offer. It does have a prerequisite for Chargelogic Payments. It's what leverages that service. And it offers different services, integrating an e-commerce site, managing gift cards. If you have gift cards, we manage the balances in real time. There's an electronic invoice piece to it. So we'll take a look at some of those more closely as well. We do have some retail solutions, different offerings depending on if your business has a need for multiple brick and mortar locations, or maybe just a parts counter, or walk in to a distribution center or manufacturing warehouse. And it's scalable. It can be from the smallest need of retailer with one pin pad up to a multi-location chain of stores. We do have advanced hardware integration, supports all the modern payment options like chip cards or contactless payments like Apple Pay. And this just lets you give your customers a great experience all the while managing all your data inside of Nav. We have also opened our own merchant services division, and what this means is that we can now get customers set up with a payment processor account. We are a reseller for First Data, and we'll talk more about our merchant services. But as experts in the credit card industry and in our own software, this was sort of a great fit to help customers get a turnkey solution and make sure that you're getting the best possible rate. So we'll talk about that as well. And then finally, we have our Chargelogic shipping solution, our Chargelogic Notify software. This lets us connect directly to carriers and send out customized emails to let customers know about their order status. And we will take a look at that a little more closely as well. With Chargelogic, as we've probably heard us talk about a lot, it's our security, it's the fact that we can support any sales channel, we can tokenize your card numbers, and we also do have insight into your merchant account if you decide to work with us to get an account with First Data. again, we will talk more about it, but it's just important. Like this is the core value of our company, is to provide all of this to you. Chargelogic Payments, as I mentioned, the core product. In addition to the security, the PCI compliance, lots of automations designed to cut down the amount of time your users have to spend processing credit card payments. We also have a lot of features built in to lower your processing fees. So being experts in the credit card industry, we know a lot of the things that can cause you to pay higher transaction fees to your processor. And we've designed the software to try to address as many of those as we can. And through setup, individual companies can set up what they need in order to get the best rates possible. The PCI validation, and people ask, what is that? This is something that any payment application, credit card processing software, should have. You shouldn't be using anything that isn't, because ultimately you as the merchant are liable if there are ever any data breaches and customers' data is compromised. We are also getting a lot more calls from banks before they will give their customers credit card processing rights to make sure that our solution is. So there is a website, PCI Security Standardsorg. It's also a great site for learning more about PCI compliance, but it's where you can look and check to verify that a solution is validated. And that just means our software gets audited by a third-party approved firm, and we have to maintain and continue to maintain our security code in the software, because hackers keep getting smarter. So we want to always try to stay a step ahead of them to keep your customers' data secure. So you can look up validated payment applications. You can type in our company name, and you will find our listing there. And it is something that is ongoing. We're always having to update this with any new releases or on a scheduled date. So again, that's how we try to stay ahead of the curve. So I mentioned that we now have Chargelogic Merchant Services, and just spend a minute talking about that. If you're already using our solution, or you're already using a credit card software solution and have a merchant account already, it never hurts if you're not working through us, and maybe even you have a first data account with another merchant services company. We're always happy to take a look at your credit card statements, evaluate them, and make sure you're getting the best rates. We can kind of tackle that from two ends. One, just understanding what you're paying and seeing whether our services can be offered to you at a better rate. We intentionally provide very transparent rate structure where it's interchange plus, and that just means the base price that everyone has to pay, the interchange price that the Visa and MasterCard collect on every transaction, and then plus a specific percentage. Also working through us, we know what our software needs. We know we chose First Data because they are a very reliable payment processor in the US. We've used them ourselves for a dozen years or so, and provide really good service. So if you would be interested in getting a proposal for merchant services, you can contact us. We'll put up some information at the end. But we're happy to evaluate it. And then also understanding what types of transactions you process. We can work with your partner to, tweak settings if possible, if there are any ways that you can save money based on that. So Chargelogic Connect, I mentioned this is our subscription-based service. There's a monthly fee, and then you can decide which services you want to use. We'll take a closer look at all the different available options. Included in your monthly fee is unlimited card storage, which is our tokenization, where you can store your card numbers encrypted on our servers and just have a random token in your NAV database. So when we look at Chargelogic Connect, it starts, as I mentioned, with Chargelogic Payments running in your NAV system. And Connect links your NAV system to, for example, an e-commerce site. We've divided up the services available today. And we also, as we add services, as a subscriber, you're automatically eligible to start using those new services. So we do try to continue enhancing the value of this subscription product. It was originally designed, as I mentioned, to integrate your e-commerce site. So Nav and your website never have to speak directly, which means Nav does not have to be up and running in order for your website to take orders. We'll hold that information on our cloud service until Nav is ready. You can use it to bring in the actual order itself, or maybe you have a way to bring in the order, but you just want it to handle this payment securely. So that would be our hosted payments. And if you are selling, if you do provide gift cards to your customers through more than one sales channel, so maybe they can call in and place an order or order online, we can maintain those gift card balances in real time on the Connect server so that no matter what point your customer places an order with your company, there's no double dipping option on their gift card because we will know if they've just used it somewhere else and how much balance they have available. The accounts receivable piece of it is this click to pay invoicing and statements that I talked about, and we'll take a look at that. We'll see that in the demo as well. That you can send a link to the with an email to your customer where they can make a payment securely online and have that payment automatically come into Nav and apply to the correct invoice. Our tokenization option is called remote storage. This allows you, as I said, to keep Nav card numbers from being stored outside of Nav, and that just makes your Nav systems much more secure. And finally, we do have a mobile sales option called Chargelogic Anywhere that works with your iPhones or iPads and allows you to, it sort of acts like a little mini website where you can take orders, it syncs your customers and your item list to our cloud service. And then if you're at a trade show or you've got, salespeople on the road, they can actually process orders and accept payment right on the spot. So Chargelogic shipping, we're going to take a little look at that as well today. This is built inside of Nav and makes it super easy to process shipments, and it kind of ties into our credit card solution, although it can be used independently, because one of the things that causes merchants to pay a higher processing fee is if you don't know your freight amounts up front. So we see this fairly often where you might authorize the card when you take the order and then it goes to the warehouse and somebody adds freight, and now the amount you have to charge might be higher than you originally authorized. So by doing your rate shopping up front, you can get that information when you get your initial authorization, and now you would pay a lower fee on that transaction because we would know the correct amount. And we'll see that a little bit as well. A couple of features that help us achieve that and also help your system sort of learn along the way. We call it Smart Weight. And what this does is allow you to make sure that we're providing the carriers with the dimensional weight of the package, which is weight and size. Your item cards in Nav normally will have a weight associated with the item, or if you sell a lot of a particular item, you might just have a category base, like CDs all weigh 3 ounces or something. So you can do it by item or by category base. And if you are tracking item pricing, if there are, let's say, 4 items in a package and you have the weight of 3 of them in Nav, but maybe you've just added a new item and the item card hasn't been updated yet, we'll do the math and deduct how much that 4th item would weigh, subtracting the 3 items plus the box weight, and we would back populate your item card. So it sort of learns over time how to calculate the package weight more accurately. We also use something called Smart Pack, where we do a virtual pack based on the dimensions of the items and the dimensions of the boxes in your warehouse, so that we kind of figure out as close as possible how many boxes an order is going to require, and that also helps get a more accurate rate quote when we're going out to the carrier. We have connections with all the main carriers: UPS, FedEx, DHL, TNT, the post office, and there are also, for international packages, our software will provide all the international documentation that comes back from the carrier as well. All right, let's get to it. That's enough for slides. And let me switch over here so we can get into Nav. And hopefully everyone now can see my, my Nav window. And we'll do a couple of different transaction types just to let you see how this looks when it's running inside of Nav. All right, so I'm going to just start with a customer card. You can go to any customer, and if they have credit cards on file, you can navigate to a list of all their credit cards. Maybe they just have a couple. However many they have, you can use the description field if they have more than one to indicate which is which. And if you have regular customers that always want to pay by credit card and they want you to use a card that's on file, you can mark their card as the default credit card. And that way, every time we go to process an order or a transaction for a customer, it's going to just automatically select that card. We also do an address validation on every transaction, and that is another way to help lower your processing fees, and that's just done automatically. You also can navigate from the customer card to see a list of all the credit card transactions that have ever been processed for this customer. And using standard Nav filtering, you could filter if you're looking for, a date or a dollar amount if a customer's questioning a charge. You can even do a filter based on the last 4 digits of the actual card number. So maybe somebody's questioning a charge to their card, but you don't show them in your system. You can go backwards and find out, where a transaction was processed. We're going to go ahead and process a sales order here. And we'll start with that same customer, the Canon Group. I'm going to sell a bicycle, we'll say for $2,000. Well, a couple of things we've added to a Nav sales order. On the upper right-hand side, we have this fact box where you can see the amount authorized or settled. So at a glance, you can tell whether there have been any credit card transactions against the sales document. And then at the bottom, we've added this Payments Fast tab. So this is that customer we were just looking at their credit card list. They had a default card on file, so it automatically pulled in. All I've done is open a sales order. I can still do a lookup, and I could pick one of the other cards on file. And we do store them by customer and by contact. So if you do use contacts in Nav, or it's an editable field, I could type in yet another brand new card number. I think I'm going to combine this one with we'll take a look at our shipping solution just to save time here. So let's say this customer is going to use UPS. Now you can set the shipping agent at the customer card level if you have a preference or your customer does of which carrier to use. And one of the things to get out of today's session is really, not to worry so much about which product is doing which. If you see functionality that you like, you can work with your partner at Innovia, and we can help figure out which of our solutions are going to get you that functionality. So let's say we wanted to go UPS for this customer. One of the nice things about our shipping solution is that it's a direct connection to the carrier when we go to do a rate shop, and it's based on your negotiated rate. So most often you would see something, freight charges based on published rates. And oftentimes that involves updating your rate tables in your Nav system whenever the carrier raises or changes their prices. With ours, it's actually the direct connection. It's your negotiated rate, and that means you don't have to worry about loading any kind of pricing. That's always going to be happening in real time. So I'm going to request a rate shop. Now I can either just have it show me the rates from this one UPS carrier, or it's setup driven. You can do a cross carrier rate shop so that you could decide, is it cheaper to go FedEx or UPS, for example. This is coming back in real time, and it's showing me the estimated delivery dates and times. So I can see here, I can get it there Friday by 11 p.m. for, well, our cost is $138. And I can get it there going UPS second day air the same time for a lot more. So this is a very handy tool for your users to be able to see, especially if they have the customer on the phone. Now you'll notice two prices here, cost and price. So cost is actually what UPS or the carrier, in this case UPS, is going to charge you. This is based on your rates. And then the price would be if you have any markups in the system. And there are different markup options in the shipping solution. It can be a percentage, a dollar amount. It can be item category based. It can be customer based. So you can offer, you can have campaigns where maybe you have free shipping during some certain dates or over a certain dollar amount. Also, if we look down at the bottom, we estimate the number of packages, which can be helpful for your customer service, to let the customer know what to expect. So I'm just going to go ahead and select ground service. So by doing that, it's pulled in a freight line onto my order. And when I release this order to the warehouse now, several different things are going to happen, including getting a credit card authorization for the full amount, including freight. With the carrier, they are validating the shipping address where they're making sure, is it commercial, it's not residential. It's found some other addresses. Apparently, there's a new racket club. This didn't used to come up right by this location. So you do have the option to make sure the address is correct. And that's important from a shipping rate standpoint because sending a package to the wrong address just ends up costing you money. So it's checking that. And you can see it actually happening very quickly. But now if I look on the upper right-hand side, I can see that I have an authorization for that full amount. So this is order number 1367. We're going to take a quick trip over to the shipping station. This is what your warehouse staff would see. And we've tried to make it a very simple user interface at the warehouse level. This is touchscreen compatible, keyboard and mouse, command keys, or barcode scanning. So if you have, for example, the sales order number barcoded on your pick ticket, the warehouse staff could just scan that, and that would bring in all the items on that order. So you can choose different ways. I'm just going to manually select this order. We also only show the buttons that are applicable at this stage of the packing. So once I select it, we now get some different buttons. And of course, this is Nav, so you can decide what's available to your team or not. Again, I can barcode scan the item, I can click it, I can type it in. I'm going to just go ahead and pack it. And I've packed everything, so I'm going to close the package. If I'm hooked up to a scale, it's not going to ask me the weight, but because I'm not, it's confirming it. And then part of the posting process is it's going to spit out a label. And normally it would spit out a label right to your label printer. In this case, because I'm not hooked up to a label printer, it's going to ask me if it printed all right. It would automatically go to a laser printer if I don't have a label printer hooked up. And there are specific label printers available. I think I hit post. And this is a setup driven to verify that. Oh, I didn't. Okay, so now I'm just going to print it to a PDF. And I say on the desktop, it's confirming because it thinks it went to a laser printer. It's just confirming if it printed all right, because as we know, paper can jam, somebody can grab our label, but normally you would have a label printer in the warehouse. And the label, this is coming from the carrier, so it would look like this. And now I can just be ready for my next package. So I'm just going to exit the shipping station. I'm going to go back and find that order, 1367. Now it's all shipped, and I just need to post the invoice. So very simple. We'll see this again, but I'm going to go to that posted invoice. When we add our Chargelogic Notify solution, we also maintain an email log. And for Notify, if I'm sending out any kind of order confirmations or shipment notifications or invoices, I will have a log available of who received it. And I'll do a new order actually for another customer that would have that. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna do a new sales order and kind of show you what I mean about that. So we'll use a different customer here. This is not a customer who has prepaid. I'll say $3,100. Try to keep different amounts to keep track of these orders. So with our Chargelogic Payments and our Chargelogic Connect service, we have the ability to send these electronic emails called Click to Pay, which is the invoice information out of Nav with a button embedded that says Click to Pay. And when they click the button, they get taken to a secure page on our servers where they can make their payment and have that come into Nav automatically. You can set a customer up to always get a Click to Pay payment. And I'm going to now close my shipping tab and open my invoicing tab. So if we look here on the bottom left, I'll raise that up a bit. You can set a customer up at the customer card level. So every time you post an invoice, for example, for this customer, they're going to get an email with a Click to Pay button, or you can just do it one-off at the order level. We've added the ability to send Click to Pays on quotes and sales orders, so it's no longer just on invoices. And it's a nice, easy way to get paid. So that's Chargelogic Payments with Chargelogic Connect. If you add Chargelogic Notify, we will suggest a list of email addresses associated with that customer. Without Notify, it's just going to email it to the address on the customer card communication tab. But when you add Notify, you get enhanced email functionality. And you can have different templates going to different people, like for example, a salesperson, maybe you want to let them, maybe you just want to carbon copy them every time you send an invoice out to your customer. If I'm doing collections, sometimes I will blind copy myself. So you can always add a new email address here and have that go out as well. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and post the invoice. So there's no payment being collected here. Now it will send out order confirmations, shipment notifications. This is all optional setups with our Chargelogic Notify solution. And if I come back to that posted document now, which is this last posted invoice, again, I look on the upper right-hand side, I can see that we have not applied any payment. And if I navigate to my email log, I have a record now of sending out this invoice by email. I have a record of who it went to. So there should never be a question about somebody getting, the documents you're sending. If there was any problem emailing it, you would see an error message here. You can also always come to your actions ribbon, and you can always send out, re-email it, or resend it to somebody. So this is invoice 103327. So let's go ahead and switch hats to the customer, and we'll go to their email. So this would be what they would receive from you. So, there can be this Chargelogic Notify comes with these pre-built templates that can be customized. So, here is the standard thanks for your order confirmation. They're kind of like the emails you would get from Amazon when you place an order online. It's letting them know some standard information that you can, again, of course, customize. When you post the shipment, it can kick off a shipment notification. Again, if you have tracking information from your system, if you're using Chargelogic Shipping, you will, and other shipping solutions as well. You can plug that tracking number into this template as well. But what we're going to look at is the invoice. Again, this is the standard template that has the information about the invoice, and it has this Click to Pay online. I know it starts to get a little bit of gray area when you're mixing up Chargelogic Connect, Click to Pay, and Notify. As an example, if I'm going to send an invoice with Chargelogic Connect only, what the customer gets looks like this. It's obviously a little bit more plain, but it still gets the job done. You've got a new invoice from your company name in the amount of X. There is a PDF attachment of the invoice. This is the invoice details from Nav, but not the actual Nav invoice. You can, of course, put your logo and your address and I believe your color on here. But it does give the customer the pertinent information about paying. We also generate a short URL for every invoice. So you can print this message on your actual NAV invoices if you still want to mail those out, so that a customer could log in online and make a payment. But because this was pretty plain, when we added Chargelogic Notify, it's still the same details of the invoice, but a much nicer format. So I'm going to go ahead and click to pay online. And this takes them to that hosted payment page. And you can give the customer the option to pay by credit card or by electronic check. If they opted for check, it would change the fields for them to enter their routing and account number. But we'll go back to credit card here. And of course, again, you can put your color, your logos, and your address. Now, it won't retain your customer's information here. I do get asked that sometimes. This is just because this is my demo database, and I do this one a lot, but they would have to type it in each time. So I'm using a Visa ending in 41s. Let's say expires May 2020. So when they click to pay the invoice, it's actually passing the request through the Connect service out to your payment processor to get the approval. And when it's approved, your customer has a nice receipt, which has the payment information at the bottom, the card number they use, the date, the dollar amount. If they click that button again, they just get taken back to this receipt because remember, it is a unique URL for every invoice. All right, so now, and also, well, I'll come back into Nav and then I'll mention that. So normally you would schedule this in Nav to automatically call out to the Connect service to see whether there are any new payments that have been made. So your Nav system doesn't know about this payment yet. All you know is you posted an invoice, it sent an email. You would usually set this up to automatically pull the Connect server. You can decide how often. It can be once a day, once every hour, once every 5 minutes. It really depends on what your needs are internally. But I'm going to manually trigger that request. And if I come to that posted invoice now, and I look at my upper right-hand corner, I can see that that payment came in. And I can actually navigate to my credit card transactions. I see it's that Visa ending in 41s, expiration May 20. The authorization came in, and because it was against a posted invoice, it automatically settled it. So all I did in Nav was post the invoice. The rest just happened. There are fees, of course, associated with using the click-to-pay service. But as we always like to tout, it is cheaper than the cost of a stamp, which is now 50 cents, I just found out. But we actually don't mail anything. Everything goes out electronically from our system. You may have an instance where a customer is calling to make a payment on an open invoice. So maybe you sent something out on terms and they're giving you a call to make a payment. So I can open up that posted sales invoice. I can see on the right-hand side that no payment has been applied yet. So I can come to my actions, credit card authorize. As I tab through here, it's going to automatically fill in the amount of the invoice. If they wanted to split that across a couple of credit cards, you could just change that to, maybe they want to put $1,000 on one, and then I could do the remaining amount on another card. But in this case, we'll just go ahead and let the full amount go to a single credit card. They don't have a default card on file, so it didn't pull anything in automatically. I can do a lookup and pick one of these cards that I have on file. I'm going to go ahead and enter a new one just to show you our remote storage feature. This ends in 0340. When I leave this field, somewhere around here, it's going to say accessing remote storage. It's sending the encrypted card number up to our Connect service, getting a token generated on the fly, having the token come back into Nav, but your users will still see the last 4 digits, 0340. This is a live connection. That's about how long it really takes. Let's see, it's past 2011. There we go, expires in 2020. I'm going to go ahead and submit that. It's going to authorize and settle the transaction. And again, when I look in the upper right, I can now see that coming here. All right, let's do one more kind of transaction, then we'll take it through the end of day. We're going to do a web order. So this will demonstrate the Chargelogic Connect service ability to have your customer place an order on your website, have it automatically come into Nav. I'm going to use both the hosted orders and the hosted payments feature, where I'm going to have it create the order in Nav as well as the payment attached to it. All right, I prepared an order ahead of time just to save time today, but what I've got is one red camera for $400 in my shopping cart. So the website itself isn't really important to today's demonstration. This is just our demonstration, not very fancy website. And when we get to the checkout, this is the piece where Chargelogic Connect comes back in. So I could either, your web developer would write to our API and they decide how they want to integrate with Connect. So I could either have it go to redirect to that hosted payment page that looks just like that click to pay page we saw a minute ago, or the nicer customer experience, but a little bit more web development effort involved, would be to use this an iframe that gets embedded into your checkout page. We match the background color of your checkout page, so to your customer, they're not having to leave your site, get sent somewhere else and then come back. To them, it looks like they are just entering this information right onto your site. I'll go ahead and use a MasterCard. By using our Chargelogic Connect service for the checkout process, it actually can remove your website completely from the scope of PCI compliance because your website is not touching cardholder data. It's just doing one more confirmation for $400. Again, it's passing through the Connect service out to your processor to get the approval. And then we send the website back the result message, and then your web developer decides with you what landing page they would come back to. All right, so the website's done. That information is getting held on the Connect server. Again, you would normally automate this, but we're going to manually ask Connect if there are any new sales orders that have been placed on the website. So now if I come to my open sales orders, it should be the last one with my name on it. Okay, let's come up to the lines here. So I can see I've got my one red camera for $400. If I look on the upper right-hand side, I can see my $400 authorization. It's that MasterCard ending in 5454. And now it really just looks like somebody typed this order into your back office as if maybe a customer called. And you can map, if you have any custom fields on your, or special requirements on your sales orders, because this is just an out-of-the-box Nav database, you can map any custom fields to bring in whatever information you're collecting. And now I'm just ready to go ahead and post that through. One thing to note, if there's ever a problem getting that web order created into a sales order in Nav, let's say you added a new item to your website, but Nav hasn't been updated yet. And so maybe somebody filled out an item journal but never posted it or something. So we don't want you to lose those orders. So we have this holding table where if an order comes in, but we're not able to create a sales order for some reason in Nav, we will hold it here. You can have all your orders come to the holding table instead of automatically creating a sales order and have somebody check them first, or just have exceptions go here. If I go to edit that, it's going to tell me what the problem was. There was an error that they're basically saying that the field number of sales line contains a value in the item table that can't be found. So I know that item number 25 didn't exist in Nav, so it stopped this order from populating. So I can go and fix the information, and now I can process that order. So you never have to worry about losing a sale. All right, so let's go ahead. Now we've got our end of day settlement batch. This can also be automated, but you do have a question. Let's see here. You do have your end of day settlement batch that all the transactions that you wanted to process for today, all the cards you want to charge, accumulate in a batch. We like the, I guess, power, or we like the availability of these options because it gives you more control over what transactions get charged. So if a customer calls, for example, and says that they want to cancel their order, you can just come to this batch. We have not sent it out yet, and you can remove it from the batch, or you can void the transaction. You never have to go outside of Nav to do that. All right, I'm going to close the batch, which normally is automated as well, but somebody can manually at the end of the day close the batch and submit it. This is when we're telling the processor we want to charge those cards today. Once the processor accepts the batch, we automatically populate a cash receipts journal. And you can see these are all the transactions that we processed today. And if you look on the right-hand side here, you can see the applies to ID number. That means that once you post cash receipts, these payments are going to automatically get updated into the customer ledger. There's some different options with how this is all setup driven, how your cash receipts journal gets populated. You've got here, we've set up a clearing account. So the individual transactions, of course, it's going to post to the customer ledger that the payment is reflected today. But then the transactions are going into a clearing account. And some people use that to reconcile their credit card statements. It's basically a wash account, and then a summary line by card type is what hits your operating account. So my total of all my Visas, my total of all my MasterCards. So it's individual transactions go to clearing, a summary to the operating account. But again, you do have the option to go everything right into your operating account. So I'm just going to go ahead and post my cash receipts now. And we'll take a look at some ledger entries just to kind of see it all the way through. So this was the click to pay invoice that we processed for $3,000. Sorry, wrong one. This one and this one. This was the order that we processed, the click to pay invoice. This was the payment that was made when somebody clicked the button to pay. And you can see that the application has already been made. There certainly are some other features available, probably more than we would have time to go through today, but some of these advanced features that let you manage your credit card transactions. We have some tiles here, which you may or may not have on your Rule Center, but you can access through the menu. Things like a decline transaction, where if your user gets a decline, it's going to put a copy of those here. And if for any reason, somebody needs to follow up behind your user to make sure that they've gotten in touch with the customer and since gotten a good card, then somebody who is, a manager in charge of that would follow up with the user, and then they can just delete this off the list. So you want to keep these lists cleaned up, but you can make sure everything goes through as it's supposed to. Maybe expired authorizations. This is another common one where maybe something's been on back order for a couple of weeks now and the authorization might be expired. You can automate the process, but you can also come here, highlight the whole list, and get a fresh authorization. That way you can make sure that your customer has the funds available. We do have a lot of other features such as that, but I just like to point out a couple of those highlights. And really, in a nutshell, that's what we showed today. So we had a chance to look at Chargelogic Payments, Chargelogic Connect, our shipping, and our Notify solution. I skipped our retail solution, but we do offer web demos on that as well. So if anybody has any interest, you can certainly always, come and attend one of our sessions. I think we have them, let's see, listed here, except my slideshow just gave out on me. Okay, I think that's it, Angie. I don't know if I'll get to our listing, but do we have any questions that might have come in through the session?
Yes, we do, Debbie. Does using Chargelogic automatically make me PCI compliant?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. So the answer to that is no. It takes you a long way towards your PCI compliance. However, there are some specific requirements beyond just the software. A lot of them having to do with your IT infrastructure, making sure you've got, good firewalls, tricky passwords, you're monitoring your network traffic, and you're limiting who has access to what in the software. So that website I mentioned, the PCI Security Standards Council, is a great place to go. They actually have a 12-step, if you just do a search for the 12 steps of PCI compliance, it gives you a very high-level view of what's involved.
Thank you. A couple more. What is the purpose of the CVV number, and can I store it in my system?
Okay, that's another good one, and I didn't show that today, but the CVV, the security code on the back of your card, you might have to enter that when you place online orders, that 3-digit number. That's really used to identify that somebody who is physically holding the card is using it. So for web orders, oftentimes you will see that you have to enter that information because they're trying to reduce the amount of fraud. But other than that, you are never, ever allowed to store it. It would kind of be the same as storing somebody's PIN number in your system, and nobody wants anybody storing our PIN numbers. But if it's a new customer and you want to take that number just to verify the card the first time around, you can manually enter it when you open up one of those authorization windows. We will send it with the transaction, but we will never store it. So there's no benefit beyond that the first time that you take a new card number. There's no impact to your rates. You shouldn't be paying any higher fees just because you're not sending it. That's really all.
Okay, thank you. And can I use Chargelogic Connect with any e-commerce platform?
We say just about any. The decision is really up to your web developer. We do have, there are some companies that are specifically in the Nav space that have already written integrations to our Connect service. So it tends to be a little less expensive because they've already done it, written that connection. If most web platforms can do it, but if you're using a web shop, or a company that creates your website for you, it's their web developers that would have to write the integration. So they have to agree to do it. We've only encountered a few. I think one of them is Shopify that has said that they don't want to write an integration. Maybe one or two other companies, but if you are working with an e-commerce provider and you're interested in pursuing that, we're happy to talk to them to let them know, what's involved and let them take a look at the technical documentation so they can decide whether they can do that for you.
Okay, thank you. And is it bad to use a gateway?
I wouldn't say bad. It's not necessary. So one of the differentiators about our solution is that you don't have to go through a payment gateway. You can go directly to the processor. The gateway is really just a middleman in the process. So the only time, and it's not 100%, but the only time you normally need a payment gateway is for your e-commerce transactions. Payment processors don't like a direct connection between websites and processors because websites get hacked. So they do like to have a payment gateway sit in between you and your processor. And that's one of the things that Chargelogic Connect accomplishes. It actually is a certified payment gateway designed to sort of simulate what a gateway would. It does work the way a gateway would for the authorization, but when you settle your transactions, you now go straight to the processor from Nav, and that eliminates some of the transaction fees you might otherwise be paying. But if you're just doing back office transactions, we would always recommend going straight to a processor and just cutting out that middleman layer of fees and sometimes reduced functionality.
Okay, thank you. And then what is level 2 data and why do I need to process it?
Okay, another great question. Thank you. So if you are doing business-to-business transactions, so people are paying you with corporate credit cards, business cards, all government credit cards, sometimes they're known as P cards. When somebody is paying you with that type of card, and you wouldn't necessarily know that that's the kind of card it is if they're just giving you the number, but our software communicates with the processor, and we're able to make that distinction and send some extra detail about those transactions. So when a merchant can send that level 2 and level 3 data, level 2 would be breaking out sales tax and freight, for example, separately. Level 3 is the actual items being purchased. We can send that detail because we already have it from your invoice anyway. And by sending it, it qualifies you to get reduced rates on those transactions. Sometimes even as much as 2% on your processing fees can be saved just by submitting that data that Nav already has anyway. So that's another reason to work with a payment processor, because usually a payment gateway does not support both level 2 and level 3.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
I believe that's all the questions that we have. I appreciate everyone for attending today, and thank you, Debbie, for the presentation. It was very informative.
Great. Well, thank you for inviting us. We appreciate it. And if anybody wants a deeper dive on any of our solutions, I do have up on the screen, you can visit our events page on our website. We're happy to, and certainly always work through your partner. We're happy to do an individual demo with your Innovia team.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for attending. And like I said, this has been recorded, so you can find it on our website by the end of the week for you to review again or share with any of your colleagues. And if you have any other questions once you review it again, just please don't hesitate to contact us, and we can address those questions at that time. And check out our website, our events page. We're always updating that, and we have a couple of webinars coming up. On May 3rd, we have a webinar coming up that is going to be on automating tax compliance with Microsoft Dynamics NAV. And then on May 10th, we have what Nav has to offer in warehouse management system. So if you are interested in any of these or any of our other webinars, please register, and we will hopefully see you at one of our next webinars. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and have a great day.
Great. Thanks very much. Bye now.
Bye-bye.